In August 1856, a wealthy Virginia planter made a decision so shocking that even in the brutal world of slavery it would have been considered unthinkable. His daughter, rejected by every suitable man in Virginia society, would be given to an enslaved man known only as the Brute. What happened next became one of the most forbidden love stories ever buried by history. My name is Eleanor Whitmore, and this is the truth they never wanted you to know. Whitmore Estate, Virginia, 1856, 20 miles west of Charlottesville, where tobacco fields stretched toward the Blue Ridge Mountains and fortunes were made on the backs of 200 enslaved souls. I was born here in 1834, the only child of Colonel Richard Whitmore, raised in luxury behind white columns and crystal chandeliers imported from France. Then came the riding accident. I was 8 years old on a horse too spirited for my skill when it reared at a snake. I fell, landed across a fallen log, heard something crack inside me. The doctors came from Richmond and Philadelphia. They examined me, conferred in hushed voices, and delivered their verdict: permanent spinal damage. My legs would never work normally again. I would need a wheelchair for life. My father commissioned the finest wheelchair money could buy: mahogany frame, leather seat, wheels that rolled smoothly across polished floors. But he couldn't commission acceptance from Virginia society. By age 18, while other girls were getting engaged, I was watching life happen through windows. By 20, my father began his desperate campaign to find me a husband. He was 51 years old and terrified of what would happen to me after his death. The first proposal came from Thomas Aldrich, a tobacco planter from Lynchburg. My father presented me in the parlor. I watched Thomas's eyes travel from my face to the wheelchair, then to the floor. "Might I speak with you privately, Colonel?" I knew what was happening, could hear the low voices from the study. Thomas emerged minutes later without meeting my eyes. "The situation isn't suitable." The second rejection came 3 months later. Then the third. The fourth. Each one had its own flavor of cruelty. "I need a wife who can stand beside me at social functions. The wedding would be embarrassing. How would she process down the aisle? I've heard she can't have children. What's the point?" That last rumor spread like wildfire. Some doctor speculated without ever examining me that my spinal injury might affect childbearing. Suddenly, I wasn't just disabled, I was also infertile. Once labeled unable to bear children, I might as well have been labeled plague carrier. By 1855, my father had approached men from North Carolina, Maryland, Kentucky. He lowered his standards. He offered increasingly generous dowries. The answer was always no. Rejection number 12 came in February 1856. William Foster, 50 years old, twice widowed, with a reputation for drinking. My father offered him $5,000. and a third of our estate's profits. Foster toured our property, examined the financial arrangements, then met me. "Can you sew?" "No, sir. My hands have limited dexterity." "Cook? We have kitchen staff, manage servants. I can direct operations from my chair." He turned to my father. "Colonel, your daughter is charming, but I need a wife who can perform wifely duties. This is untenable." After Foster left, I found my father in his study, staring at nothing, bourbon in hand. "Father, you can stop. I don't need 12 proposals in 4 years. His voice was hollow. "Every single man has said you're not worth marrying." The words hit like physical blows. "Then I won't marry. I'll stay here. I'll help you manage. I'm 55 years old. When I die, what happens to you? Our male relatives will inherit. Your cousin Robert will sell this estate and give you some pittance to live on in a boarding house, dependent on his charity. Then leave me the estate in your will. Virginia law doesn't allow it. Women can't inherit property independently, especially not unmarried women with..." He gestured at my wheelchair, unable to finish. "Then what do you suggest?" He took a long drink. "I don't know, but I will not leave you unprotected." 4 weeks later, he called me to his study and told me about his solution. "I'm giving you to Josiah. He'll be your husband." I stared at him. "Josiah? The blacksmith?" "Yes." "The enslaved blacksmith?" "Yes." "Father, you cannot be serious." "I'm completely serious." He stood and paced. "Eleanor, no white man will marry you. That's reality. But you need protection. You need someone strong enough to carry you, capable enough to manage what you can't, loyal enough not to abandon you. And you think an enslaved man. Josiah is the strongest man on this estate. He's intelligent, healthy, gentle despite his size. He'll protect you. He'll provide for you. And he won't abandon you because he's bound to you by law. You're treating me like property, giving me to a slave as if I'm furniture. I'm ensuring you survive." His voice rose, then fell. "I've spent 4 years trying proper channels. It's failed. So now I'm trying something else." "Have you asked Josiah?" "Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. And if I refuse, My father's face was ancient, exhausted. Then I'll keep trying to find a white husband, and we'll both know I'm gonna fail. And you'll spend your life dependent on relatives who don't want you. It was the bleakest possible future, and I couldn't argue with his logic. Can I meet him? Actually talk to him? Of course, tomorrow. That night I lay awake thinking about Josiah. Everyone on the estate knew about the brute. 7 feet tall. Shoulders like a bull, hands that could bend iron. People were afraid of him. And my father wanted me to marry him. They brought Josiah to the house the next morning. I heard his footsteps first, heavy, measured. Then he had to duck to fit through the doorway. He was impossibly large. 7 feet tall, 300 pounds of muscle. Hands scarred from forge burns, face dark and weathered. With a thick beard and eyes that darted nervously, never settling on me. He wore rough work clothes, both strained by his size. He stood with head slightly bowed in that posture enslaved people took in white spaces. My father cleared his throat. Josiah, this is my daughter Eleanor. His eyes flicked to me for half a second. Yes, sir. His voice was surprisingly soft, deep, but quiet. Almost gentle. My father explained the arrangement, then left us alone. Silence stretched between us. Would you like to sit? I gestured to the sofa. He looked at the delicate furniture, then at his massive frame. I don't think that chair would hold me, miss. The sofa, then. He sat carefully. Even sitting, he towered above me. His hands rested on his knees. Each finger was like a club, scarred and calloused. Are you afraid of me, miss? Should I be? No, miss. I would never hurt you, I swear it. They call you the brute, he flinched. Because of my size, because I look frightening. But I'm not brutal. I've never hurt anyone, not on purpose. But you could, if you wanted to. I could, but I wouldn't, not you, not anyone who didn't deserve it. There was something in his eyes, sadness, resignation, and unexpected gentleness that didn't match his appearance. Josiah, I want honesty. Are you dangerous? No, miss. Are you cruel? No, miss. Will you hurt me? Never, miss. I promise on everything sacred. I believed him. Something in his voice, his eyes, told me this man was telling the truth. Then I have another question. Can you read? The question clearly surprised him. Fear flashed across his face. Why do you ask? Because my father mentioned it. He said he's seen you reading. Is it true? Reading was illegal for enslaved people in Virginia. Admitting it was dangerous. Long silence. Finally, quietly, yes, miss, I can read. I taught myself when I was younger. I know it's not allowed, but I couldn't stop myself. Books are, he struggled for words, doorways to places I'll never go. What do you read? Whatever I can find, miss. Old newspapers mostly. Sometimes books I borrow from other slaves who found them. Have you read Shakespeare? He looked startled. Yes, miss. There's an old copy in the library no one ever touches. I've read it at night when everyone's asleep. Which plays Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, The Tempest. His voice gained enthusiasm despite himself. The Tempest is my favorite. Prospero controlling the island with magic. Ariel wanting freedom. Caliban being treated as a monster, but maybe being more human than anyone. He stopped abruptly. Sorry, miss. I'm talking too much. No. I was smiling, genuinely smiling for the first time in this impossible conversation. Keep talking. Tell me about Caliban. And something extraordinary happened. This massive enslaved man began discussing Shakespeare with intelligence and insight that would have impressed any university professor. Caliban is called a monster, but Shakespeare shows us he's been enslaved, his island stolen, his mother's magic dismissed. Prospero calls him savage, but Prospero is the one who invaded and claimed ownership of everything, including Caliban himself. So who's really the monster? You see Caliban as sympathetic. I see Caliban as human. Treated as less than human, but human nonetheless. Like he trailed off. Like enslaved people. Yes, miss. We talked for 2 hours. About Shakespeare, about books and philosophy and ideas. Josiah was largely self-educated, his knowledge patchy and informal, but his mind was sharp. His hunger for learning was obvious, and as we talked, my fear began to dissolve. This man wasn't a brute. He was intelligent, gentle, thoughtful, trapped in a body that society looked at and saw only a monster. Finally, I said, Josiah, if we do this, if we become whatever my father wants us to become, I want you to know something. I don't think you're a brute. I don't think you're a monster. I think you're a person forced into an impossible situation. Just like me. His eyes were suddenly wet. Thank you, miss. Call me Eleanor when we're alone. I shouldn't, miss. That wouldn't be proper. Nothing about this situation is proper. If we're going to be husband and wife, or whatever this arrangement is, you should use my name. He nodded slowly. Eleanor. My name in his deep, gentle voice sounded like music. Then you should know something too. I don't think you're unmarriageable. I think the men who rejected you were fools. Any man who can't see past a wheelchair to the person inside doesn't deserve you. It was the kindest thing anyone had said to me in 4 years. Will you do this, Josiah? Will you agree to my father's plan? Yes, no hesitation. I'll protect you, I'll care for you, and I'll try to be worthy of you. And I'll try to make this bearable for both of us. The arrangement began formally on April 1st, 1856. My father held a small ceremony, not a legal wedding since enslaved people couldn't marry, and certainly not one society would recognize. But he gathered the household, read Bible verses, and announced that Josiah was now responsible for my care and protection. A room was prepared for Josiah adjacent to mine, connected by a door but separate. The first weeks were awkward. I was used to being cared for by female servants. He was used to heavy labor at the forge. Now he was responsible for intimate tasks, helping me dress, carrying me when the wheelchair wouldn't work, assisting with personal needs. But Josiah approached everything with extraordinary gentleness. When he needed to carry me, he asked permission first. When helping me dress, he averted his eyes. When I needed assistance with private matters, he maintained my dignity, even when the situation was inherently undignified. I know this is uncomfortable, I told him one morning. I know you didn't choose this, neither did you. He was reorganizing my bookshelf. I'd mentioned wanting it alphabetical, and he'd taken it as a project, but we're making it work. Are we? He looked at me, his enormous frame somehow non-threatening as he knelt beside the shelf. Eleanor, I've been enslaved my whole life. I've done backbreaking labor and heat that would kill most men. I've been whipped for mistakes, sold away from family, treated like an ox with a voice. This, he gestured around the comfortable room, living here, caring for someone who treats me like a human being, having access to books and conversation. This is not hardship. But you're still enslaved, yes. But I'd rather be enslaved here with you than free but alone somewhere else. He returned to the books. Is that wrong to say? I don't think so. I think it's honest. By May, we'd settled into routine. Mornings, Josiah would help with preparations, then return to the forge. My father still needed his blacksmith. Afternoons, he'd return, and we'd spend time together. Sometimes I'd watch him work, fascinated by how he transformed iron into useful objects. Sometimes he'd read to me, his reading improving dramatically with my tutoring. Evenings we'd talk. About everything. About his childhood on a different plantation. About his mother sold away when he was 10. About dreams of freedom that seemed impossibly distant. And I talked about my mother who died when I was born. About the accident that paralyzed me. About feeling trapped in a body that didn't work in a society that didn't want me. We were two discarded people finding solace in each other. One day in May, I was watching Josiah at the forge. He was making hinges, heating iron until it glowed orange, then hammering it into shape with precise strikes. Do you think I could try? I asked suddenly. He looked up, surprised. Try what? The forge work. Hammering something. Eleanor, it's hot and dangerous. I've never done anything physically demanding because everyone assumes I'm too fragile. But maybe with your help? He studied me, then nodded. Okay, let me set it up safely. He positioned my wheelchair close to the anvil, heated a small piece of iron, placed it on the anvil, then handed me a lighter hammer. Hit right there. Don't worry about strength. Just feel the metal moving. I swung. The hammer hit with a weak thunk. Barely made an impression. Again, put your shoulders into it. I swung harder, slightly better. The iron bent marginally. Good. Again, I hammered again and again. My arms burned. My shoulders ached. Sweat poured down my face. But I was doing physical work, actually shaping metal with my own hands. When the iron cooled, Josiah held up the slightly bent piece. Your first project. It's not much. You made it. With strength, he set it down. You're stronger than you think. You've always been strong. You just needed the right activity. From that day, I spent hours at the forge. Josiah taught me everything. How to heat metal, how to hammer, how to shape. I wasn't strong enough for heavy work, but I could make small items. Hooks, simple tools. Decorative pieces. For the first time in 14 years since my accident, I felt physically capable. My legs didn't work, but my arms and hands did. And in the forge, that was enough. June brought something different. We were in the library one evening. Josiah was reading Keats's poetry aloud. A thing of beauty is a joy forever, he read. Its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness. Do you believe that? I asked. That beauty is permanent. I think beauty in memory is permanent. The thing itself might fade, but the memory lasts. What's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? He was quiet. You, yesterday at the forge, covered in soot, sweating, laughing while you hammered. That was beautiful. My heart skipped. Josiah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. No. I rolled closer. Say it again. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. You've always been beautiful, Eleanor. The wheelchair doesn't change that. The 12 men who rejected me were blind idiots. His voice was fierce. They saw a wheelchair and stopped looking. They didn't see you. The woman who learned Greek just because she could, who reads philosophy for pleasure, who learned forge work despite having legs that don't work. They didn't see any of that. I reached out and took his hand. His enormous scarred hand that could bend iron but held mine like glass. Do you see me, Josiah? Yes, I see all of you. And you're the most beautiful person I've ever known. I think I'm falling in love with you. The words hung between us. Dangerous words. Impossible words. A white woman and an enslaved black man in Virginia in 1856. Eleanor, he said carefully. You can't. We can't. If anyone knew. What? We're already living together. My father gave me to you. What's the difference if I love you? The difference is safety. Your safety, my safety. I don't care what people think. I cupped his face, had to reach up to do it. I care what I feel. And I feel love. For the first time in my life, someone sees me. Really sees me. Not the wheelchair, not the disability, not the burden. You see Eleanor. And I see Josiah, not the slave. Not the brute. The man who reads poetry and makes beautiful things and treats me with more kindness than any free man ever has. He was quiet for so long I thought I'd ruined everything. Then I've loved you since our first real conversation, when you asked about Shakespeare and actually listened. When you treated me like my thoughts mattered. I've loved you every day since. I just never thought I could say it. Say it now. I love you. We kissed. My first kiss at age 22 with a man society said shouldn't exist to me. In a library surrounded by books that would condemn what we were doing. It was perfect. For 5 months we lived in stolen happiness. We were careful, never showing affection in public. But in private, we were simply two people in love. My father either didn't notice or chose not to. He saw I was happier, that Josiah was attentive, that the arrangement was working. We built a life together. I continued forge work. He continued reading. We talked endlessly about dreams of a world where we could be together openly, about the impossibility of those dreams, about finding joy despite uncertain futures. Then December 15th, 1856, my father discovered the truth. We were in the library, lost in each other, kissing with the freedom of people who thought they were alone. We didn't hear the door open. Eleanor. His voice was ice. We sprang apart. My father stood in the doorway, face showing shock, anger, and something else. Father, I can explain. You're in love with him. Not a question. An accusation. Josiah immediately dropped to his knees. Sir, please. This is my fault. Be quiet, Josiah. My father's voice was dangerously calm. He looked at me. Eleanor, is this true? Are you in love with this slave? I could have lied. Could have claimed Josiah forced himself on me. It would have saved me and condemned him to death. I couldn't do it. Yes, I love him. And he loves me. And before you threaten him, know this was mutual. I initiated our first kiss. I pursued this. If you're going to punish someone, punish me. My father's face went through expressions. Rage. Disbelief. Confusion. Finally, Josiah, go to your room. Don't leave until I send for you. Sir, now. Josiah left, casting one anguished look back. Do you understand what you've done? My father asked quietly. I've fallen in love with a good man who treats me with respect. You've fallen in love with property, with a slave. If this becomes known, you'll be ruined beyond redemption. They already say I'm damaged and unmarriageable. What's the difference? The difference is protection. I gave you to Josiah to protect you, not for this. Then you shouldn't have put us together. We were both shouting now. You shouldn't have given me to someone intelligent and kind if you didn't want me to fall in love. I wanted you safe, not scandalous. I am safe. Safer than I've ever been. Josiah would die before letting anyone hurt me. And what happens when I die, when the estate passes to your cousin? You think Robert will let you keep an enslaved husband? He'll sell Josiah the day I'm buried. Then free him. Free Josiah. Let us leave. We'll go north. The north isn't some promised land, Eleanor. A white woman with a black man will face prejudice everywhere. I don't care. Well, I do. I'm your father and I will not watch you throw yourself into a situation that will destroy you. Being without Josiah will destroy me. For the first time in my life, I'm happy. I'm loved. I'm valued for who I am, and you want to take that away because society says it's wrong. My father sank into a chair, suddenly looking all his 56 years. What do you want me to do, Eleanor? Accept it. Understand that I love him, that he loves me, and that whatever you do, that won't change. Silence. Outside, December wind rattled windows. Somewhere, Josiah was waiting to learn his fate. Finally, my father spoke. I could sell him. Send him to the deep south. Make sure you never see him again. My blood ran cold. Father, please let me finish. He looked at me with exhausted eyes. I could sell him. That would be proper. Separate you. Pretend this never happened. But I won't. Hope flickered. I won't because I've watched you these past 9 months. I've seen you smile more with Josiah than in the previous 14 years. I've seen you become confident, capable, happy, and I've seen how he looks at you. Like you are the most precious thing in the world. Father, I don't understand this. I don't like it. It goes against everything I was raised to believe, but you're right. I put you together. I created this situation. Denying you'd form a genuine bond was naive. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need time to think, to figure out a solution that doesn't end with either of you miserable or destroyed. He stood. But Eleanor, understand, if this relationship continues, there's no place for it in Virginia, maybe not anywhere. Are you prepared for that? If it means being with Josiah? Yes. He nodded slowly, then I'll find a way. 2 months later, in late February 1857, my father called us to his study. I've made my decision. We sat across from him, holding hands despite the impropriety. There's no way to make this work in Virginia. Society won't accept it. Laws forbid it. If I keep Josiah here, suspicions will grow. Eventually you'll both be destroyed. My heart sank. This sounded like separation. So I'm offering an alternative. Josiah, I'm freeing you, legally, formally, with documents that will stand in any northern court. Eleanor, I'm giving you $5,000 to establish a new life, and I'm providing letters of introduction to abolitionist contacts in Philadelphia who can help you settle there. I couldn't breathe. You're freeing him. Yes. And letting us go north together? Yes. Josiah made a sound, half sob, half laugh. Sir, I can't. You can and you will. My father's voice was firm but not unkind. Josiah, you've protected my daughter better than any white man would have. You've made her happy. In return, I'm giving you your freedom and the woman you love. Father, I was crying. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This won't be easy. Philadelphia has abolitionist communities that will accept you, but you'll still face prejudice. Eleanor, as a white woman married to a black man, you'll be ostracized. You'll struggle financially, socially. Are you certain? More certain than I've ever been. Josiah, sir, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure Eleanor never regrets this. Then we proceed. 1 week later, we were married in a small Richmond church by a sympathetic abolitionist minister. I became Eleanor Whitmore Freeman. Josiah became Josiah Freeman, a free man. We left Virginia on March 15th, 1857, in a private carriage my father arranged. Our belongings fit in 2 trunks. My father embraced me. Write to me. Let me know you're safe. I will. I love you, Father. I love you too. Now go build a life. We traveled north through Maryland and Delaware. Each mile took us further from slavery toward freedom. Philadelphia in 1857 was a city of 300,000, including a large free black community. The abolitionist contacts my father provided helped us find housing. Josiah opened a blacksmith shop with money from my father, Freeman's Forge. His reputation grew quickly. He was skilled, reliable, and his size meant he could handle work others couldn't. I managed the business. Accounts, clients, contracts. My education, which Virginia society deemed worthless, became essential to our success. Our first child was born in November 1858. A boy we named Thomas after my father's middle name, healthy and perfect. Watching Josiah hold our son for the first time, this gentle giant cradling a tiny baby with infinite care, I knew we'd made the right choice. 4 more children followed. William in 1860. Margaret in 1863, James in 1865, Elizabeth in 1868. We raised them in freedom, taught them to be proud of both heritages. In 1865, Josiah designed orthopedic braces that attached to my legs. With these braces and crutches, I could stand, could walk, awkwardly but genuinely. For the first time since I was 8, I walked. You gave me so much, I told Josiah that day, tears streaming, love, confidence, children, and now you've literally made me walk. You always walked, Eleanor. He smiled. I just gave you different tools. My father visited twice. In 1862 and 1869, he met his grandchildren, saw our home, our business, our life. He saw we were happy. He died in 1870, leaving me a letter. My dearest Eleanor, By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I want you to know, giving you to Josiah was the smartest decision I ever made. I thought I was arranging protection. I didn't realize I was arranging love. You were never unmarriageable. Society was too blind to see your worth. Thank God Josiah wasn't. Live well, my daughter. Be happy. You deserve it. Josiah and I lived together in Philadelphia for 38 years. We grew old together, watched our children become adults, welcomed grandchildren, built a legacy from an impossible situation. I died on March 15th, 1895. 38 years to the day after we'd left Virginia. Pneumonia took me quickly. My last words to Josiah as he held my hand: thank you for seeing me, for loving me, for making me whole. Josiah died the next day, March 16th, 1895. The doctor said his heart stopped. But our children knew the truth. He couldn't live without me the way I couldn't have lived without him. We're buried together in Eden Cemetery in Philadelphia under a shared headstone that reads Eleanor and Josiah Freeman. Married 1857. Died 1895. Love that defied impossibility. Our 5 children all lived successful lives. Thomas became a physician. William became a lawyer fighting for civil rights. Margaret became a teacher. James became an engineer. Elizabeth became a writer who published our story in 1920 in a book titled My Mother, the Brute, and the Love That Changed Everything. This is the story of Eleanor Whitmore and Josiah Freeman, the woman's society called Unmarriageable, the man's society called the Brute, and how a desperate father's radical solution created one of the most beautiful love stories ever buried by history.